Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're tuning in. My name is Jonathan Torres-Herrera, and you are watching the JTH show. Today, we're going to talk about an interesting topic. Now, it's not business or personal growth like the last few videos that I've been touching base on. It's going to be actually over news, specifically the coronavirus. But first, roll the intro. That is such a good song. I don't care how many times my wife rolls her eyes. That is such a good song. It's a great song. One day it's gonna win it's gonna win something. It's gonna win an award. You're just hitting hard. In case you guys didn't know, by the way, my usual updates of behind the scenes. My wife doesn't like my song. It doesn't. She doesn't like it. But it's a great song, right? You guys agree? No? Maybe? I don't care. It's a great song. Anyways, guys, today I want to talk about the coronavirus. Now, specifically, this topic came up, and I started getting all crazy with my notes here that I'm going to share with you guys because President Trump had a 1-hour press conference today, February 26th, at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. It wasn't just him for an hour. It was some other also high officials that he invited, people even from the CDC, I believe. And I'm going to go through it. But here's the thing. It came up in part, that or at least it encouraged me to do the video and to stir away a little bit from my usual topics because I saw so many comments from people, right, that I felt were irresponsible in the sense. Sorry, I was just double checking that I'm still recording everything. Sometimes I freak out and I get so excited and I start one of my videos. Anyways, they feel irresponsible in the sense that there's a guy, for instance, right? And I don't want to show people's faces, their comments are their comments. That's their right to comment and their beliefs. But it still made me feel like, dude, come on, man. Like, this could be serious, right? The guy, some guy said a comment like it was something along the lines of, oh, it's just another way of a government trying to control us. Okay, right? And he had a few likes on his own comment. There was another one that it was the opposite. And it was trying to almost push like this conspiracy theory, right? Also along the lines of the government saying they were trying to infect us all to thin the herd or something like that. Now, I know for both sides, people can make arguments and say, well, JT, it makes sense for both if you think about it. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, okay? What I do want to put out there, though, is some information, some facts. And as always, when I put things out there that are news-related, like the first video I ever did, fact check me if you want. In fact, I always encourage people, and I tell people that I know personally, go fact check things, right? Don't go by what any news outlet tells you, whether it be Main Street news outlet or YouTube channels, such as myself or other YouTube channels, right? I've shared before that I like channels like the Philip DeFranco, TYT. I watch Ben Shapiro. Yes, I know. I just kind of said opposites. Check them, right? So fact check me as well. So let's get into this real quick. So like I said earlier, today, President Trump had a press conference at 6:30 Eastern Pacific time. Eastern Pacific time. That's not even a thing. Eastern time. Sorry, I'm excited. He had just returned from India. Right, and they set up this briefing to focus around the corona virus topic because they wanted to bring some things to the forefront, that people should be aware of. Right, he focused on the opening of his briefing, focused on the first 15 people that that he said most of them are out of danger. There is one person that's still very ill, but for the most part, they're all fine. The initial 15 infected people. He also said that Congress had given him $2.5 billion to handle plans to prevent further outbreak or to prevent, to get plans in motion, right, to prevent an outbreak, and obviously a nationwide outbreak. Trump also said that he has a good relationship with the president of China, and that the president of China told him that the issue has gotten smaller. That's according to Trump's own words. In China, right? That is not as big of an issue as it was a few weeks ago. Or for that matter, obviously, when the whole thing started and it got to the point where we are now. He compared that the fact that we shouldn't be alarmed over this outbreak, right, or potential outbreak, because he said that in comparison, the common flu kills over 25,000 or north of 25,000 people per year. Now, I didn't have time to fact check that. It may be accurate. Other people during the briefing, and by the way, I'll link the briefing in the comment section. If you guys want to watch the whole hour, be my guest. Okay, I watched it twice, or at least the first time. And second time, I got these highlights for you guys. But he said, the common flu kills north of 25,000 people. Okay, so he said, hey, in comparison, this is not something we should all be alarmed and panicking just yet. He said that the U.S. is working rapidly on developing a vaccine. And then he said something that was kind of curious to me. He said that the U.S. had great quarantine facilities ready to go. Now, Trump, whether or not you like him, he's known for saying things, that they're kind of vague, right? So quarantine facilities, to some people, that could be, hospitals, because hospitals have quarantine rooms, right? That could be what he was alluding to. So not necessarily some conspiracy theory, like I saw some of the comments saying, they probably have like these bunkers where they're going to throw all of us that are sick in those. I don't think it was along those lines, but he did say that. And again, you guys can check the video. And somewhere throughout the beginning, he says, the U.S. has great quarantine facilities. Okay. He said either way, that the U.S. is very ready, and I quote, for any kind of outbreak, end quote. He said he also showed a chart from a report from Johns Hopkins University that rated countries by their readiness, and that the U.S., of course, was at the top. Now, I feel that's a little unfair, being that this came from a university in the U.S. Johns Hopkins, University is world-renowned, yes, and it's famous, and but it's in the U.S. So I mean, you can say, yeah, man, but they could easily put another country on top. I don't know that they would, being that they're, in the U.S. and they're probably funded in some capacity by the U.S. government. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know that I would 100% feel like their report is not biased, right? But that's just my opinion personally. But he did show off the report during the press conference saying, hey, we are at the top. He literally did this. Okay, moving on. So then Mike Pence, and if you guys don't know who that is, that's the vice president of the United States, took the stage, and he said that the administration had met with over 30 officials from various states to go over preparedness plans. And he said it, like it already had happened, like they already had met with people, I guess, around the nation to go over each state's preparedness plans, right, for an outbreak. He also said that the White House had brought in additional staff to handle the situation. Now, he said some other things, but those are the highlights that I took away from this. And by the way, be aware that I might have missed some stuff. I heard the video twice, but I wanted to prepare this tonight. Hell, it's 10:45 at night right now, but I wanted to film this so I can edit it tomorrow morning and then get it right out to you guys. So if I missed something, my apologies. If I misunderstood something, my apologies. But again, I did read it. I did hear the thing twice. All right, moving on. So then Alex Azar then followed up, and he is the Health and Human Services Secretary. He said 3 things that stood out to me. Number 1, the degree of risk has the potential to change quickly. He said we can expect to see more cases in the United States. And then finally, he said people should be aware of what a People should be aware of what a broader response would look like. Right? And he said that's why the whole briefing was happening, right? So that people can, again, kind of have it more at the front of their face versus in the back of their mind of what a response would look like, both locally in their city, in their state, and then nationwide, right? And he did say that we can expect to see more cases in the United States, right? Okay. So then we have another person. I believe that's the second to last person that came up to the stage, Dr. Ann. I'm going to chop off her name, Schwarzschild, senior official at the CDC. And if the CDC, if you guys don't know what that is that is a Center for Disease Control. Her remarks were that the containment efforts were working, but the U.S. was expecting to see more cases pop up, just like Alex Azar said previously. And then number two, she said that schools and businesses should look at their pandemic preparedness plan. Again, the schools and businesses should look at their pandemic preparedness plan, is what her remarks were, or the highlights of her remarks. All of them, by the way, other than Trump, spoke probably for less than 10 minutes, I think, on average. The rest, it was all Trump. So then finally, we have the last person there before Trump took the stage again, and that is Dr. Anthony Fauci. He's a director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. He said his big highlights were that the U.S. was working on a couple of vaccine candidates, of which they had a prototype. They will have a vaccine in about 3 months ready for trials, which would take an additional 3 months of actual trial of about 45 people to see if it's safe. Then you would graduate that, successful initial 3-month trial to a trial called the efficacy stage, in which over 100 people to 1,000 people are tested, and it takes about 6 to 12 months to see if that ends up being safe and successful. So all in all, to wrap this whole thing, it takes about a year to a year and a half, more or less, right? To see if they actually have a vaccine that they can say, yeah, this definitely combats or helps with the existing coronavirus. He said that it would not be applicable anytime soon to any kind of pandemic that would rise up right now, right? He said that the answer to containing it is public measures, actually. Before we can rely on a vaccine, which is at least a year and a half away from being, feasible. So what is that? The public measures? I'm going to go into it, after his remarks or final remarks. He said that the virus is likely to recycle and come back next year. So it's not just a temporary thing. It's not going to be here and then gone tomorrow. He believes that it's seasonal, and it will have, I guess, its seasons where it's stronger and some seasons when it's not. At which point, by the way, if it came back next year again, hopefully, obviously at that point, they would have a vaccine ready to go. They're also working with antiviral drugs, which are different than vaccines, right? These are more maybe pills. One of them, which is called Remdesivir, probably mispronouncing it. It's a weird drug name like they all have. This one is already initiated for a trial, and he believes that if it works, right, and it would be good news because they would have something sooner to combat it. Okay, so then Trump finally takes the podium again for the last time. He says that he has placed travel restrictions on certain countries. By the way, Italy, I guess, is one of the places recently that has had an outbreak of its own. I don't know the numbers there. And I know that Brazil has also had at least one case of the coronavirus. He said that, travel restrictions have in place. While he does not believe that it will be needed, the plans for quarantine states or cities could happen, right, if needed. There are plans to quarantine cities or states, like China did with Wuhan. This came after a reporter asked if we had such plans, right? That's massive. Massive to say, hey, we quarantine a state. If you think of something like California, Texas, forget about it. I don't even know how that would look like. But again, watch the video yourself. He said, we do have such plans to be able to do that. I would think that it would be more realistic to say cities more than states. I would picture that hopefully this, and knock on wood, this would get to the point where it's at statewide and a state would have to be quarantined. But according to what he said, there are plans to do that. He also went on to say that the stock market did have a hit. I guess that I heard the Dow went out like 200 points. He said they know that the virus may have had some kind of effect on it because of, people are scared, right? Not because the actual employees running the market are necessarily sick, but because, people are scared, they pull their money back. There's not as much trading or whatever that world relies on, right, to be successful. So he said that it did definitely have an effect on it. However, he said he went on to blame more that it was a Democrat debate. And I don't want to get political right now. I don't necessarily agree that is accurate, but whatever. That's his remark, right? And that's what this is about, his remarks. He went on to say also that that he again tried to make sure that we are aware that it's usually 25,000 people or more that die, in comparison to this. So he repeated this a couple times. So that's why I put the note there again. When asked by a reporter if he backed up the notion that maybe the CDC is trying to weaponize this whole corona thing to affect his reelection or his campaign, he actually disagreed, which I applaud. That he didn't try to use that, to kind of like say, yeah, if I lose or if I start, tanking in the polls, it's because they're trying to weaponize this against me. So I do have to applaud that, that he immediately came out and said, no, these are great people. They're doing what they can to prevent, a further outbreak. So, the CDC it should be an independent entity. And, at least he did an attempt to not kind of hide behind that and say, hey, if I do tank in the polls, FYI, or Bernie beats me or Warren or whoever, it's because of CDC. So, I saw where the reporter was going with that, but he got shut down. That was nice. He recommended that you treat this like the flu. Now, here is where I was showing my wife, and I recommend you go see the video. I'll try to put the link somewhere in the description down below where you can find this. If I have time, I'll even cut it and put it somewhere here, okay? It was funny. He kept insisting that this is just like the flu, right? He said it a couple times in the video that, as long as you treat it like the flu, you'll be fine. At one point, he was trying to get like affirmation, and he turned to the doctor before, the lady that I think I just mispronounced her name, Dr. Ann. And he said, it's just like the flu, right? And I felt like he turned around to like, right? The doctor didn't give much of a reaction to like, yes. You know how when someone turns to you, right? And I would say something, and then you're like, yeah, you just kind of shake your head because you know where this is going. You know where I'm about to say. And you're like, yeah, it's true, right? It's clear that you're agreeing with me. It didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like that when he did that to the doctor. He tried to do that with the doctor. The doctor kind of just looked around like, yeah, not like in agreement, but kind of like, oh, what is that over there? Watch it. Okay. My wife disagrees, I guess. She says that she felt, I don't think she nodded her head. Let me know. I mean, if I'm misreading that, maybe. And the reason, by the way, that maybe there's a part of me that's misreading the whole, like, the nodding because it's the flu, because I've seen actually other articles written by actual doctors that don't agree that this is just like the flu. That in the sense that you can prevent it just as easily, right? So when he tried to push that, I felt like, it is a way for him to maybe downplay this whole thing. And I just don't feel like it was right. That's just my opinion, right? But anyways, let's move on. Finally, there was another reporter that asked him, if he felt like, this whole thing would affect the economy more than just, with the recent, down being or the stock market being down. And he said actually it would boom it, that it somehow when we're going to come out of this stronger. So I also don't know what he meant by that. Maybe I don't have enough experiences with these kind of outbreaks. I am 33 years old. I don't know if other crazy outbreaks have happened and then all of a sudden our stock market boomed, like he said. I hope it does. I mean, it would be nice, right? We all benefit from that. But that's what he said. All right. So finally, for my final remarks, like I said before, check out the video. I'll try to put in the description. Another remark here that I caught on to. Maybe I'm reading into things. He said at the beginning of his speech there that, we're gonna have one or two people, infected or sick, and then soon it will be no one, and we'll be fine. However, right after he gave that, right, when he said, right now we have one person that's ill, maybe two, but soon we'll have none. you have top officials that followed in and basically told people, no, like, we're expecting more cases. They literally said that verbatim, and I'm like, okay, so he's saying we're gonna have 1 or 2 cases and none. Don't worry about it. The market's gonna boom. But then you have top officials. I mean, you guys should get together before you guys, come up on these conferences and, let us know. I mean, it's fine. If you don't want people to panic, I get it. I don't want people to panic either. But you want to have your people informed. And to me, maybe I'm reading into this. Trump comes up, the president, comes up and says, 1 or 2 people, don't worry, soon there'll be none. And you right after have other officials that come up and say, no, we are expecting more cases, which, by the way, I'm going to get into here in just a second because there are more cases. Dr. N, when Trump kind of like turned around and tried to get affirmation, I felt like she was more hyper aware of everything he was saying. And only then did she start agreeing, like her head started nodding more. So I made a note of that because I want to make sure you guys are kind of like aware of that. I don't want you to be like, oh, she started nodding for everything he said afterwards. Yeah, I know, maybe I did catch on to that. But I think it's just because when you're like on camera, live to the nation, you start kind of thinking like, oh shit, people are watching me. I'm going to put my best face, That would be my face I would put on if I was on national TV. It's a great face. Screw you. Okay. Final thoughts. Like I said, new cases are emerging. There are 2 of them that me and my wife actually were reading on. One of them is a flight attendant that I guess was diagnosed. Now, to be fair, this flight attendant does travel between the U.S. and I believe it sounds like South Korea and other Asian countries. She's a flight attendant, so she probably flies all around, but it includes the U.S. So when she landed in LAX, it sounded like she was ill, and they found out that she had today. That happened today. And then the other case, did you see that one today as well? It came out today that another person, I don't know if it's a woman or a man, in San Francisco, has also contracted the virus, but they don't know. Now, that one's an interesting one because they don't know where he or she contracted the virus. So to me, the flight attendant makes sense. She's flying all around the world with hundreds of people on a daily, probably, right, on planes. So that one makes sense. But the other one that doesn't make sense is the person that is in San Francisco contracted the virus and they don't know where that came from. So that one was kind of interesting. My thing on here, guys, is, be aware of your surroundings, be aware of the information you're getting, the information you're choosing not to get. Actually, real quick, let me run real quick with the coronavirus. For some of you guys that are not familiar, real quick, I should have done this before my final thought. The coronavirus is the COVID-19. There are other coronaviruses, okay? There are other ones that, they are, I guess, controlled, and I believe there's also medication. This one, COVID-19, is the new one, all right, the coronavirus. According to the CDC, it originated from Wuhan, China, specifically and allegedly due to a food marketplace where they sold wild animals for consumption. So this is a virus that usually is contracted between animals. And while most, animal to animal viruses are not prone to affect us humans, this one did. So just be aware of that. It is a respiratory virus. It spreads like the common flu in the sense that if you cough or sneeze on someone, or in the radius, I believe, of 6 feet, which is, it could be quite a bit. I'm probably not even, well, I'm actually about 6 feet from my wife, maybe more or less. You can contract it. So if I were to sneeze right now, she's infected. She act like, ew, like, come on. Like, we're going to go, never mind. Never mind. All right, whatever, man, whatever. So in that sense, it is like the flu, right? Symptoms are vague. Symptoms, the main ones include a fever, a cough, and shortness of breath, right? And those are vague because even the CDC in their website, and you should look it up, they say that other illnesses are exactly like those symptoms: fever, right, cough, and shortness of breath. So it is a little vague to say, well, damn, dude. I think probably half the people I'm talking to right now are gonna be like, oh shit, I got the corona, huh? Yeah, well, and it's flu season, correct? And it's flu season. Okay, a prevention, also very, very vague. The CDC, according to the website, does not recommend that people who are well wear a face mask to protect themselves, right, from the respiratory illness. Why? It doesn't say. It really doesn't say. Look it up yourself. Go to the cdc.org. It doesn't, or .gov. I'm sorry, cdc.gov. It doesn't say why they don't recommend it. I found a different article, by the way, that they recommend that you can buy. Hold on. If you wanted to, even though the U.S. doesn't recommend it, there's a different type of mask. Hold it. You're going to want to hear this. Where are you? Here we go. It is the mask N95. It looks a lot like the mask that people wear to paint houses. They're much more thicker versus their standard masks that you find like at hospitals that are much thinner, So that N95 mask looks, a little bit more serious. But even then, supposedly, according to the CDC, they don't recommend that you need it right now, that you wear it. Okay, continuing on, they want you to avoid people that appear to be sick with the illnesses. Which everybody, just don't go out. If you are sick, actually, that's no joke. They say you shouldn't go out because your immune system is compromised. Okay. Furthermore, you should wash your hands, at least for 20 seconds. If you touch your hand, if you have to touch your eyes, your mouth, or anywhere on your face, and then clean and disinfect areas. So pretty standard stuff, right? Pretty basic stuff that you should do all the time anyways, right? But guys, I really wanted to get this one out. I know it's a little longer than my usual videos, but I don't know. Something told me to at least get something out to the viewers that are willing to watch and get a little bit more informed. And take care of yourself, all right? Make sure that you actually do take this serious and in the sense of, washing your hands, not being in such confined spaces with so many people, getting sick with the flu, with the common flu period. I guess it can be dangerous, but even if it's not like, deadly to you, it's an inconvenience. I recently got something. No, I'm just playing. I recently got something though, and I was like, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's not funny. My wife says it's not funny. I thought it was a little funny. But I get something. My throat was itchy. I didn't get the fever. I wasn't, just sore throat. It's an inconvenience, right? It sucks. So, and it's probably because I was out there, with a whole bunch of people. So, and didn't probably wash my hands, and I have a habit of chewing my nails. There, I said it. All right. So I probably is stupid. See? So I wanted to go out there and tell you guys about it. Okay. And about that press conference. Be informed, be aware. Until next time, I hope everybody stays safe. Take care of yourself. See ya.